Hi, and welcome to this workshop on creating reports in Qualtrics from the Center for Teaching, Research, and Learning at American University. This is part one of a two-part series of videos entitled Creating Reports in Qualtrics. In this workshop, we will be going over the basics of Qualtrics reports, editing visualizations using filters, report settings, and sharing options. This is video 1 out of 2 in the series. And in this video, we will be covering Qualtrics report basics, as well as different options for editing visualization, such as adding and deleting visuals, editing titles, types of visualizations and color schemes, using report breakouts, and transposing the axis and legend values. So now we are going to open up Qualtrics. So this is my example survey, and in this workshop, we'll be covering the features that are in the results option under reports. So if you pull open a survey, and you can create a survey and in Qualtrics make test responses if you want to test this out if you don't have your own survey data yet. But anyway, we will go to the reports tab. And then under the results section, this is where we're going to focus on this workshop, the features in this section. All right, so the first thing I want to go over is the report drop-down menu allows you to create and copy reports as well as switch between existing reports. So it'll automatically be on the default, but if you want to create multiple reports out of the survey results and separate them out, you can do that here. You can also copy them and then edit the copied version if you don't want to create a new report completely from scratch. That's also possible at the report drop-down menu here on the upper left-hand corner. And then by default, every question is going to have its own page, but you can edit the default pages or create your own custom pages here on the left. So as you can see, there's an option for create custom page at the top of the bar on the left, right here. And then each question is put at a different page. And you can click them and navigate to each question there. But again, it's possible to edit them. If you want to delete an entire page, you can by just going to the page options when you click on the page. And then in the right-hand corner of that page, you'll see page options, and you can hit hide page. You can move it. You can move it to the top, move it to the bottom, or you can export the page as well if you want to export it into its own PDF or Word document, etc. That's also possible through the page options. So in the center, you can see that we have the data visualizations. So the center of the page is where those will pop up. They're automatically generated to display your survey data in easy to digest charts, graphs, and tables. So the automatic data visualizations Qualtrics produces can still be edited just by clicking on them. So we're going to do that now. And as you can see, when you click on a visualization, this right hand, on the right-hand side, this visualization editing window will pop up. And this allows you to customize the visualizations. And then the last two, just report basics I want to go over. On the right-hand top corner is the gear button. And this will just give you some settings for your report, and you can determine what the default settings are for your report, including applying custom color palettes to every visualization, doing things like that. So if you want to explore your report settings, that would be in the top right-hand corner with the gear button. And then the other feature is the share report button that's next to it to the left. And this just lets you share your report in various ways. You can export it as a file, create a public version of your report, or send it as an email, export it to a Word document or PowerPoint slides. There's a bunch of options there as and then lastly, there's also this option of adding a filter. So if you want to filter your report and only make a report on a certain demographic of people from the report, you would select that question and then select the demographic that you are focusing on for your report. Or if you only want to make a report for people that answered a question a certain way and just divide out and separate reports. That way you can do that here and you would just select the question. So for this example, I'm going to do Q2 and then selected choice. So for this example, I am only looking at respondents that selected female as their gender. So I can create a report just looking at respondents that identified their gender as female. And I can look at the rest of the questions and see how they responded to the survey results compared to other genders. So that is an option at the top. Just make sure that you remove the filter once you're done with it, or it will stay there. So if you no longer need that filter, make sure that you hit Manage Filters, and you can delete them just by selecting that. All right, save and apply. Yeah, and you can always add it back if you'd like to see it again, but just make sure when you're done, you delete it. All right. So the next thing we're going to go over is just how to edit the visualizations. So since Qualtrics automatically generates these visualizations, there may be some that we don't need. So I'm going to show you how to delete visualization. So for example, there's a consent question in our survey, and I'm going to hit view because I had hidden it before. So there's a consent question at the beginning of our survey, and we probably won't need that in the report. I think it's assumed that all the respondents consented to participating, but it is important to make sure uh, that they consent before they take the survey, but it's not necessarily important for the report. So um, to delete a visualization, you would select it. And you can either go to page options and hit hide page if you just want to hide the entire page, that's possible. But if you have multiple visualizations on a single page and don't want to hide all of them, then you would just scroll down. Oops. You would just scroll down to the bottom of the editing window and you would hit remove visualization right here at the bottom of the right hand side visualization editing window. So I'm going to hit that. And now that visualization is hidden. And since I don't really need this page at all, since that's the only visualization on that page, I'm also going to hide the page and hide it there. If for some reason you change your mind, you can go to page options and unhide the page and then just add visualization and add it back. But that's one option for removing visualizations that were automatically generated that you don't need in your report. And then next, we can also title and name our visualizations. So so Qualtrics will automatically name them whatever you named your uh, data set, whatever the column name was in the data set, that will be the name that it uses. So for this one, it's Q3. If we want to change the name, the title for Q3 from our survey, I'm gonna select it and you can just type it in. You can also select it here and then go to title and see how you can uncheck it and then recheck it. Um, so if you don't want it to automatically use this title up here, you would title your visualization by selecting that box on the right, and then you would type in the title you want. So I typed in political affiliation by gender, but so let's do another option. So I'm gonna title this one, and now it automatically names it what the name is of the page, but I want to change it. So I'm gonna title it Feelings Towards Statements. And that is the new title of this specific visualization. If you want to change the page title, you can also change it just by clicking and typing your new title in. So it's pretty easy to edit the titles. Another way you can customize visualizations is by selecting them, and you can change the type of visualization it is. So on the right-hand side in the editing window, you'll see a bunch of different types of charts and different visuals like pie charts, um, other types of graphs, and you can change it to fit whatever is best for displaying your data. So I'm going to go back to a bar chart because I think that's the best one for this specific question. And you can also change the color scheme. So if I scroll down more, I can see different color palettes, and you can select any of these color palettes or you can add a custom color palette by selecting that option at the top and create your own color palette. So I'm gonna just change it to this one, and you can see how the colors became more lighter, more muted. Um, but you can always go back to the default if you'd like. It's also possible to reverse the colors. So if I select that, the colors will be reversed. And there we go. Those are ways to customize your visualizations by selecting a color palette or selecting a different type of chart or graph. Next, I'm going to show you how to use report breakouts. So that report breakouts allow you to display data from different samples side by side. So in the example we previously saw at the top when we were looking at titles, political affiliation by gender, I created this by using a breakout, which means that in the survey, we asked respondents to indicate their political affiliation, and in another question, we asked them to indicate their gender. So you can add these two together by using a breakout gender to see how people of different genders responded to the question about their political affiliation. So to do that, you would go to the visualization editing window, and at the top of it is a breakout by option right at the top. And I broke out by question 2, which is the question asking respondents about what gender they identify as. So all you have to do, I'm going to put no breakout, and you can see how the graph changed just to a general pie chart of what people reported their political affiliation. It didn't break it out by any reported gender. So to add it back under breakout by, I would put Q2. And there we go. So now our political affiliation question is broken down by different genders. So that is very helpful if you're trying to compare in a specific question how different demographics that responded to your survey answered a specific question, is using the breakout options. Okay, and the last thing we're going to cover in this video is how to transpose the axis and the legend values on a graph or a chart. So Qualtrics doesn't always correctly identify the axis and legend values. Sometimes it'll have them flipped. It's just not a perfect system, so sometimes you'll have to change those. So to do that, let's go to an example where they were originally incorrectly transposed. And here we go. We have the rate your feelings question. It's a Likert question where they can select their level of agreement with the different statements. So originally, this graph, this chart was incorrectly transposed. It had the legend and axis values flipped. So what that looks like is like this, where instead of having the statements on the side and which ones agree or disagree, it had accidentally had the statements in the legend and agree to disagree on the axis, and that doesn't show us what we want to see. So to flip it back to what you want it to be and need it to be to visualize your data, you would just select it and then scroll down to your the transpose option at the bottom of the visualization editing window. So if we hit that, it'll flip it back. So if anything has been uh, incorrectly uh, identified and you need to flip those values, the transpose option is right here. All right, in the next video, we'll be going over more editing options as well as options for sharing the reports and doing report settings. So please check out the next video. I hope this one was helpful. Thank you.